Once upon a time, in a distant village called Abini, there lived a kind-hearted man named Ife. Ife had 2 wives, his first wife, Olamide, and his second wife, Adesewa. Olamide was a very gentle and kind woman, loved by everyone. She had a beautiful daughter named Kemi. 8 years had passed since she had Kemi, and she could no longer have children, which saddened her deeply. Because of this, Ife's family made trouble with Olamide, urging Ife to marry his second wife, which he bluntly refused. One day, Mama Ife came to visit them in their house in the town of Ife, where Ife and his wives lived. Olamide was very happy to see her mother-in-law since she had not seen her for a while. Mama Ife pressed Olamide to have more children, expressing her deep desire for more grandchildren. Olamide, disheartened, cried in her room after Mama Ife refused to interact with her or eat anything she prepared. Despite Mama Ife's suggestion, Ife declares his love for Olamide and their daughter, firmly stating that they're enough for him. The demand for more grandchildren from Mama Ife persisted, stressing the importance of a large family. When the pressure became too much, Olamide pleaded with her husband to take a second wife. Ife refused initially, but when she kept begging, he had to listen to her. So Ife married Adesewa, who seemed nice at first but soon showed her true colors. Adesewa was not kind like Olamide. She had 2 daughters, Amara and Ifunenya, and 2 sons, Obi and Uche, with Ife. Unlike Kemi, Adesewa's children were not kind and often behaved badly, just like their mother, who always caused a lot of trouble in the house. Sometimes, Ife would travel with his lovely wife Olamide to a neighboring town to have a quiet time, just so they could rest from Adesewa's troubles. One day, while returning from a friend's wedding in his hometown, their car was involved in a ghastly accident. Both Ife and Olamide died. This saddened Kemi's heart as she was left lonely and alone. Tears became her constant companion. One day, while she was crying, Adesewa walked up to her and said, "See, you better stand up and do something useful with your life. Do you think your tears will bring them back?" Adesewa became very cruel to Kemi. She made Kemi do all the house chores and would not let her rest. Often, she would not give her food till evening. Kemi continued to suffer at the hands of her stepmother. Each time Mama Ife came visiting, Adesewa pretended as though she had been very nice to Kemi and never allowed her to visit her grandmother, Ogboni. As Kemi grew up, many young men came to ask for her hand in marriage because she was not only beautiful but also had a good heart. However, Adesewa chased them away, saying all manner of awful things about her to scare them away, always saying her daughters were better suited for marriage. Young men, various individuals who come seeking Kemi's hand in marriage, characterized by their admiration for her beauty and kindness. Adesewa's daughters, Amara and Ifunenya, previously mentioned, portrayed as being favored and touted by Adesewa as more suitable for marriage than Kemi. One day, while Kemi went on an errand for her stepmother, she mistakenly kicked a stone and fell down. A poor-looking but handsome young man helped her up. His name was Ade. Ade was dressed in old clothes and looked very poor. They exchanged pleasantries, and he saw her off to where she was going, walked her to her house, and left. "I think I like her," he said to himself, smiling. "I will just make her my friend, watch her carefully, and make some findings to know who she really is." Ade was just a common bread seller who sold bread by the roadside. After making his findings, he concluded that he was going to marry her. Since Adesewa did not accept good-looking and wealthy men to marry her, she would accept a poor bread seller like him. So he became her friend. Sometimes he would visit her, and vice versa. Adesewa never complained about Ade because she felt he was the kind of person Kemi needed, a very poor man. She was happy each time she saw the both of them together. One day, a man who had been talking to Kemi about marriage came to ask for her hand. But when Adesewa realized that if she didn't do something, the marriage might work out, she came up with an evil plan with her children. When the food was ready, Adesewa added a lot of salt and pepper to it. When it was time to serve the food, Kemi served it. They all pointed at Kemi, shouting, "Is this how you will kill our son with your bad food?" And they left angrily. Kemi cried. When Ade heard about Kemi's marriage, he was heartbroken because he liked her and was waiting for the right time to ask for her hand. He quickly packed his bread and ran to Kemi's house. She was crying profusely. "It's okay, stop crying. I know it's not your fault. I have tasted your food and I know you're a good cook. This is Adesewa's handiwork, and I know it." When he returned to his house, he said to himself, "Perhaps she's the one. What better time to ask for her hand in marriage than now? But I wouldn't want to rush her with all this drama that has just happened." He was so excited, hoping she wouldn't turn him down. After a month, Ade asked Adesewa if he could marry Kemi. Adesewa laughed and thought to herself, "Why not? This poor man can have her. It's no loss to me. In fact, this is the kind of person she should get married to." She accepted, knowing Ade was poor. Kemi saw kindness in his eyes and agreed to marry him. "He's the only friend I have, and he's a very nice person. Though he might not have enough, we can work together and make this life better and more conducive for us and our children," she thought. So she agreed to marry him. As the wedding day approached, Adesewa and her daughters pretended to help but mocked and laughed at them because they could barely afford anything. They had just a few drinks and food, but Kemi and Ade didn't mind. After the wedding, Ade took Kemi to his home, which was far from the village. Kemi was surprised they didn't stop at a small house as she expected but at a very big and beautiful house surrounded by gardens and fields with lots of maids at her beck and call. Ade then revealed he was not poor at all but a very wealthy man who had disguised himself to find a true and loving wife. Kemi was amazed and happy, not because of the wealth, but because she found someone who truly loved and respected her. Meanwhile, Adesewa's sons were wayward, always bringing trouble to her. She married off Amara and Ifunanya to two of the rich men who once came for Kemi's hand in marriage. Their bad characters were soon discovered. Ade and Kemi lived happily, and Kemi always treated everyone with kindness just as she had done all her life, no matter how her stepmother had treated her. As time went by, Kemi and Ade were known not just for their wealth but also for their generosity and kindness. They often helped the villagers with their problems and provided for those in need. Kemi never forgot how she was treated by her stepmother, so she made sure to treat everyone with respect and compassion. One day, a big festival was announced in the village. It was an annual festival held once a year. Ade's family had been the host since his father passed away, and he had hosted it for the past 3 years. It marked the time of the year when they gained freedom from a neighboring kingdom that had held them captive for ages, taking all their crops and leaving them with almost nothing to feed on. It was Ade's great-great-grandfather who took his 7 sons and conquered the entire kingdom, bringing victory to the people of Ife. Ade and Kemi prepared for the festival, inviting everyone from the village and beyond, including Adesewa and her children. They made sure everyone had enough to eat and drink. During the festival, Ade took Kemi by the hand and addressed the crowd. "Today, I want to thank my wife, Kemi, for being the wonderful person she is. She has been through so much, yet she remains kind and loving. She is the reason why our home is filled with joy and laughter. Let's all appreciate her for her good heart." The crowd cheered and clapped for Kemi, who blushed and smiled. She looked at Ade with tears of joy in her eyes. "Thank you, my love. I am blessed to have you by my side," she whispered. Adesewa, who was watching from a distance, felt a pang of regret and guilt. She realized how much she had mistreated Kemi and how wrong she had been. She decided to approach Kemi and apologize. Kemi, I am sorry for all the pain I caused you. I was wrong, and I see that now. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Adesewa said, her voice trembling. Kemi looked at her stepmother and saw the sincerity in her eyes. She nodded and hugged her. I forgive you, Adesewa. Let's put the past behind us and move forward. From that day on, Adesewa and her children changed their ways and became more humble and kind. They learned to appreciate the value of love and kindness. Kemi and Ade continued to live happily, spreading joy and kindness wherever they went. The village of Ife prospered under their care, and their story became a legend passed down from generation to generation, a tale of love, kindness, and forgiveness.